Hi. 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 Hello.
I think that would be a great intro.
Hello. 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 Hi. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of Cake Calendar, the monthly show that not only celebrates the Swedish cake calendar, but we also show you how to bake them.
Yeah.
We're back here again in Baldersbröd in Sollentuna, and my name is Thomas Bragg-Nielsen and I am the amateur cake eater.
And I am Nicoletta, and I am a professional pastry chef, and I will show you how to bake.
So we're in the month of March, and March really feels like the month where the cake calendar really starts to get going. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you can expect from the cake calendar in March. So we've got Mandelkubbens dag on the 3rd of March. We've got Punschrullens dag on the 7th of March. We've got Mazarin dagen on the 13th of March. And we've got Waffeldagen, the waffle day, on the 25th of March.
Yes.
Pretty full month. So what are we going to make today?
Today we're going to do Mazariner.
Mazarin,
Which
the
is
13th of March.
Yes, exactly in the middle of the month, and also a staple for Swedish bakeries.
And what is the Mazarin? What is it made up of?
Mazarin is made out of mordeg, which in English I think it's short crust pastry,
Yeah.
which we then fill with an almond filling, and then on top we're going to have a sugar glaze.
Great. And last month when we were talking about semla, we were talking about how many different types of variants you see in semla. Now semla is something really special, you see it one time of the year, but like you said, Mazarin is something that you might see in a bakery throughout the year.
Yes.
But what kind of variants might you see?
You will have vanilla Mazarin, where you have a classic Mazarin that also has custard
Yeah.
baked in it. You will have blueberry Mazarin, raspberries Mazarin, chocolate Mazarin. It's all up to the fantasy and the imagination of the bakers.
Great. Well, today we're going to be making the classic Mazarin.
Yes. Today we're doing the classic one.
Yeah, so I would say let's get to it. And just before we get started, just to remind you, we actually timestamp this video. So if you need to jump back and forth through the recipe as you're watching this, you can do that using the timestamps below. And of course, as usual, all the details of the recipe are in the description below with normal ingredients that you can pick up at the supermarket, right?
Yeah.
Right, let's get cracking. What do we need?
So we're going to start by doing the mordeg. I'm just gonna keep saying mordeg. It's hard for me to remember short crust pastry. So you guys will have to remember that one.
But we're learning baking and some Swedish today, so that's great.
Yeah. So to do the mordeg, we will need 225 grams of flour with half of teaspoon of baking powder. We will need 100 grams of sugar, 100 grams of butter, and 1 egg. To bake it, we need to just combine all the ingredients in the machine. So everything goes into one and the same bowl, everything at the same time. And we're just going to start the machine at very low speed. So what we want from this dough is just to bring it together. As soon as we have the dough sort of like a clump and everything just came together, we're going to stop mixing it. We do not want to over mix it, and we definitely don't want to start building gluten into it. And the last step of the dough is just putting it into some cling film and putting it into the fridge for about half an hour. It has to be completely cooled. And what I do to make sure that it gets completely cooled is that I flatten it out.
Right, whilst we're waiting for the mordeg to cool and harden, I'm going to hit you with a little Mazarin fact.
Let's hear it.
Are you ready? You didn't
Yes.
think you'd get away from my facts that easily. Mazarin fact number 1. So the history of the Mazarin is quite unclear. Some people believe it was created sometime during the 1800s by the famous French baker Jules Gouffre. Goof. Terrible pronunciation. So others believe it is in fact an earlier creation from the 16 or 1700s that probably got its name from the cardinal and French statesman Cardinal Mazarin.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. In any case, the first reference to the Mazarin in Sweden didn't come until 1886, which is when it first appeared in the Swedish Academy's dictionary.
Okay. So, Thomas, now that our dough has chilled, we're just going to have to roll it out quite thin. I would say about 3-4 millimeters.
Oh, that is then.
Yes, and I am going to give you guys a little bit of tips of how to do that the easiest way when you are at home. When I bake at home, what I like to do is I take 2 baking sheets and I put one under the dough and one on top of the dough. And that will help me to roll out the dough and control the thickness of the dough without it getting it stuck to the surface.
So what do we do now?
Now what we have to do is get our moored egg into the baking tins. We have, normally the Mazarin will have this oval shape, but for some reason recently they have been quite hard to find in the regular supermarkets. So if you can get your hands on one of these, the oval one, you can always use these round ones, which are a lot more common, and these ones you can definitely find everywhere. In any supermarket. Yeah. So what I normally do is I use a cookie cutter that's bigger than my baking tin, so I can get like dough on the sides as well. So you just put the dough in the tray and slowly, with your thumb, start pushing it down and giving it the same shape as the tray.
So we've put 10 in the tins now.
Yes.
But that's because we haven't done the whole dough. So it's probably worth mentioning, depending on how thick you make the dough, depending on what shape of tin you use, we reckon somewhere in between 15 to 20 you could make with this recipe. Right, let's get these out of the way.
Yes, and let's start doing the almond filling.
Yep.
So what we're going to need for that is 300 grams of almond paste. And the same thing as with the semla, guys. It's super important to get a high quality almond paste.
And if I remember correctly, this is 50% almonds, 50% sugar.
Yes, that's right. And that's the only one we use in the bakery. The next thing we're going to need is 150 grams of soft room temperature butter. And this one is super important. You want a soft butter because you don't want any chunks of butter to be left in your filling. And the very last thing we're going to need is around 150 grams egg. So that's about 3 eggs. So the first step is to just get the almond paste into the machine, and we are going to slowly and in small sizes add the butter. So when the first chunk of butter is incorporated, we're going to add the second chunk of butter. And it's super important with this filling that you go on super slow speeds. We don't want a lot of air into it. So we now have incorporated all the butter, and it's time for the eggs. And we're going to add 1 egg at a time, and only add the second egg as soon as this one is completely and fully incorporated. So we are done. We are done with the filling.
It's a long and slow process.
It is, but it's worth it. Like, you get a very good quality product if you just take your time. What you want to have is this really nice, soft almond cream. that you're going to use to fill the mazarines with.
Okay, so what do we do with it
So
now then?
now we're just going to take a piping bag, fill it with our paste, and just start filling the mazarines.
Yeah. And like we said when we were making the semler last time, actually, if you didn't have a piping bag, what you could do is take a sheet of baking paper,
Yeah.
roll that up, and that works just as well. In fact, that's exactly what I did when I made the semler recipe myself at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can just, like, if you have those freezer bags
Yeah.
that are a bit thicker, you know, usually the ones that have Ziploc
Yeah.
have harder plastic. You can use that and cut a corner from it and just use that as a piping bag.
Great. Okay, filling is ready.
Yes.
Guess it's time to put them in the short crust pastry.
Yeah. So what you want to think about is to leave about 1 centimeter of the tin unfilled. Since it has egg, it will rise.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to like
Look like a mushroom
Yeah,
cloud
run
coming
out
over,
and
yeah.
look like a mushroom.
Yeah.
We want it to be like nice and straight.
So these go to the oven now.
Yes. I am going to take these ones to the oven and I will bake them at 190 degrees. We're going to start with 12 minutes and check them, but normally it would take us about 15 minutes to get the right color on top of them.
So 190 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes.
Yes.
So we've got 12 to 15 minutes to wait. You didn't think you'd escape from another Mazarin fact.
Nope.
Mazarin fact number 2 coming right up. Mazarin, or as they used to be called, Mazarin, it actually appears twice in the cake calendar. So most people and most bakeries know it as March the 13th, but controversially, January the 10th, it also appears on some cake calendars as the Mazarin Day. Now, I don't know why people don't celebrate it in January. Maybe Christmas has just finished, you've had too much cake, you don't want a Mazarin in the middle of January. But March feels kind of right, so there you go. Controversial fact, Mazarin has 2 days, but we're going to celebrate it in March.
Yes.
All right, so whilst we wait for the Mazarin, as they stand so far, to cool, we need to make something else to go on top.
Yes. We need to make the glaze. And for that, we are going to use 100 grams of powdered sugar and a few tablespoons of water. And what we're going to be after is a quite soft and pipeable consistency, but not a runny one.
We now have some completely cooled Mazarins.
Yes.
Why are they upside down?
Yes, one thing I forgot to mention is that we want them to be completely straight on the top. That's when you get like the prettiest mazarins. So when we take them out of the oven, we just put one of these baking papers on top of them, put another plate on it, and just turn them around.
So they
and
cool
let them
upside
cool upside down. Yes.
Great.
What we have to do now is glaze them. For that, I'm going to use a piping bag, and I'm going to get this sugar glaze into it. And we're going to take a mazarin and just start piping the glaze in an oval shape. And since it's just sugar, you don't want a huge amount of glaze on it. And while you do that with the piping bag, I'm gonna do some with a spoon, which is also a way you can glaze mazarin. Yeah, so if you guys bake 20 mazarins, just double the recipe for the icing.
Or you can do like we did. See how it goes, and then you can always make more.
Yeah.
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 So they look pretty much ready.
Yeah.
What's
They're
left?
ready.
What's left to do?
Taste them.
Best bit. I was hoping she would say that. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, good.
Oh God, look at this fluffy inside.
Oh, good. We're eating these. I'm feeling sorry for the cameraman, so we can't forget every hoop body who is part of the cake calendar production. There you go.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you again to Barlow's Bread for letting us use this phenomenal arena for baking.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. It's wonderful baking with you every single time.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit a like down below. It really helps other people find these videos. And if you're really enjoying, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. We've been posting recipes, tips, tricks, and just nice photos of cakes over on our Instagram. You can see the details on screen somewhere now. And we'll see you again in April.
Yeah.
Something from the April cake calendar coming up next month. I'm looking forward to it already, but I've got to finish this Mazarin first.
See you guys.
Bye.